Hello everybody, and welcome to another video. Today I think, I'm going to try and make sure. I usually sometimes spin off topic, but anyway, I want to do a video on Gordon, not Gordon. A video on Gordon.J.Roger, which is the character that I use for Fallout and for what I used to use for Skyrim. My hair, I've had a haircut. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing with it. Anyway, that's it. Gordon, I'm gonna go. Gordon. I think at the time of the last Fallout one, and when I do Fallout again, I'm gonna download a DLC. I don't remember what it's called. I call it Robomania. Not the name, but it's, I suppose, from that name. If you know the DLCs, you probably know the one I'm talking about. The one where you can build robots, and the bad guy, I think, of that DLC. I know basically nothing about the DLCs. But in that DLC, there is basically, I think the main bad guy is a guy who dresses up as a villain from one of the comics. But in that story, I think Gordon is either 23 or late 22. This is a bit confusing because I'm going to get to this later, but Gordon ages 2 years slower than a normal human. My shirt looks clean white. It is not clean. Anyway. I don't really know when Gordon's born. I usually say he was born near the start of the century Halo takes place in, which I think is 25 something rather. But then there's a problem because also I've already stated in my own stories and things like that, which is mostly where I get this lore for the characters and things like that. It comes from the stories and the books and things like that I want to do. Gordon is from roughly that time, but the thing is, my character way before the DHD, because these stories, I don't think me and Rowan ever really get to the DHD point until like the 20 something story. So from that time on, they haven't been able to do dimensional travel or have ever even encountered it, meaning that Nurse couldn't have been in the Firefly time state and Gordon been from this dimension there, even though I sometimes think that he is from this dimension. I would usually say he's either from the Fallout or the Skyrim dimension, which I think both of them exist in the same dimension because they look so similar, but because it's made by the same people. But yeah. Like seriously, look at Fallout 3 and Skyrim's zombies, zombie creatures. Neither of them are zombies, but technically they both are. And you'll see what I mean. They look identical. Feral ghouls and whatever the zombies in Skyrim were. I never learned their names. So Gordon doesn't really have a date of birth because I'm very iffy on if the Halo universe and the Firefly universe are meant to collide and some people stay behind in the on Earth because you never find out what made everyone else leave. You know that they say that Earth was uninhabitable, but you don't know what made it like that or even what made it uninhabitable. So some people could have survived. That's my excuse. Or, more likely one, he's just from another dimension. Technically, I just call it the Bethesda dimension because he's only in those stories, which makes sense for him to stay in his own dimension. Anyway, so from that state, Gordon had two parents. And I don't really go into detail about them. And Gordon did go mostly through, like, he was liked by quite a few people, but he never really made close friends, and but also he is someone who gets bored quite quickly. He usually always kept doing stuff just out of curiosity or just boredom. He couldn't, so for instance, it killed him to sit in tests, because you can't do anything, especially when you finish. Suppose he would do a test just out of boredom, but it's when he's finished, when he's not the smartest person, but he usually finishes quite quickly, and then has nothing to do and gets bored very quickly and just figures something out, usually drawing on the back or something. And he mostly went through life like that. He got okay measurements on, all of his schools. He's British, I'm just going to say that, he's English. there will be a reason why he sounds American. Now, even though he may run into things that he can't speak from birth, he was never able to speak. This obviously made life tricky, especially with that thing of being bored. You can't tell someone you're bored. You have to use sign language, which I don't know any. Anyway, eventually when he became 18, he had pretty much wrapped up school and things like that. He didn't really want to continue on much longer, and he had a-ish stable job at a shop, like his local store. And yeah, but eventually he came across something on the internet, as you do, for something under that, for government time travel people, and they didn't want to obviously send anyone important on a test time capsule thing. How he got this is sort of unknown to him, and supposedly he believes that the government targeted him for some reason. Now, he can't speak, so he can't really tell anyone. Obviously, though, he lives in the future, so, you can probably use any sort of device and send it to someone. But anyway. But, yeah. And he decided, why not? I've got nothing else to do. And went. Because that's how he did everything. And, yes, so he went there. He wasn't close to his family or anything. And he thought, if I died, well, I'd die doing something that wasn't boring. That's how he used to look at life. In that, he wasn't trying to fly. He was actually trained to... Not really I suppose you can't get trained to do this, but he was told to film it. So he was given a small sort of inconspicuous time capsule thing, a camera of some kind. Why do I keep adding time to that? So they gave him a camera, and it was a hidden one, and they would just basically take it back to probably nowadays. Something went wrong, took them to the Victorian era, some point in there, and in that caused a crash, which killed everyone else, and Gordon barely survived. I think he broke his hand or wrist or whatever. He then, once again, not really knowing how to fly, trying to get back, sent him further back to gotta get this right, 64, I think. Probably. From that, he joined, technically, the military, I suppose, at the time. I don't really think he had a military, but I suppose he just called it an army. I don't know, you never hear people refer to them as the military. But anyway, he then joined up and eventually went at 1066 to the Battle of Hastings. This is the best, that's the only bit of history I remember. That is the only year, 1066, Battle of Hastings. There we go. But yeah, and in that battle, he once again got wounded. At this time, obviously, he's 20, and after the battle, and most people left, they thought he was dead. Technically, then I came in, or at least my character came in, and hired him into the DHD, where then we took him to Skyrim. Quickly changed his clothing for something which fitted the time era. Hang wait, I've just realised that. If he was in the Battle of Hastings, does Skyrim take place further back? I'm assuming it's got to. I've just realised that the Battle of Hastings takes place in this, I suppose I class this as a parallel universe, so... Oh shoot. I'm confused. Okay, so it's a parallel universe, but it's only a slight difference. So the Battle of Hastings probably still exists. Only difference that there's a nuclear war in 2077 and that destroys the world, but actually we don't know that yet. Maybe it happens, and maybe everything looks like it's in the 50s. And in whatever year Skyrim's based, because they don't give you a year, dragons exist. Well, I suppose technically dragons did exist, then went extinct, and then sort of came back, and then gone probably killed them all off again. Yay. It made a species go extinct. But anyway, so he goes, meets with my character Nurse, which is at that time, I want to say 13. Is it? Hang on. I'm just thinking about my timeline. Because I use, obviously, my character's age quite a lot for his own age. But yeah, Anyway, so I think my character is 13. Yeah, because he met Stephen when he was 11. Well, technically he was 11 to start with. So he met Stephen, then when he was 12, Retro, 13, Gordon. Right, okay, I think that's how it works. Then, out of everything that happened there, I actually did load it up on my console to try and finish the story. Never did. Realised I made a huge mistake with that stupid area, and I really wish I had known about it, because it was actually so easy. Turns out what I was trying to do was I was trying to steal the wrong stupid ring, the thing's behind the stand, and that's why I never finished the game on camera. That, and also the console side freezingly moved it. But anyway, so yeah, when then Gordon, when Gordon finished that, he decided that he didn't really want to stick around in the past and wanted to move up to the future. He decided well, he spent 1 year in Skyrim and then moved up to 2076, where he spent another year there. Hang on, wait. Gordon's birthday is in... Okay, Gordon is born in January, like January the 14th, I think. So yeah, so, hang on, then he would have to have gone to 20... Shoot. I'm still figuring out this timeline myself, but now I have this. Yes, I have a camera, so I will remember this. So no, when he finished the story, he moved up to... Which didn't take a year, it took a few months, so I think I brought him up to... the autumn, so the beginning of the autumn, went over to 2077, continued from that same state just to make it a little bit easier for him. Lived through technically 2 years, so went there in 2075, lived 2 years there, and in that time, so in, I would say, the summer, he ended up looking after Sean. Sean is not his own son. I'm just going to say that. Sean isn't Gordon's biological son. Someone who lived next door to Gordon was having a child. The father, she didn't know, because that happens, just to say. She didn't have any parents. I was about to say he for a minute. No parents and no siblings, or cousins, no relatives. I think it's called next of kin. So yeah, basically, and was very antisocial. But she knew Gordon and knew that he was quite kind. So she wanted, if something was to happen to her, which I think she had probably a cancer or an illness, something that basically guaranteed, well, not guaranteed, but made it very likely that she was going to die. Yes. They probably don't have a cure for cancer in however many years, in 60 years' time. Yeah, 60 years actually. By Halloween of this year, it's 60 years until the nuclear war. I say Halloween because there was Halloween stuff everywhere when the nukes fell. So yeah, so when Gordon eventually took on the son and looked after him for a little bit. I think in that time he got Codsworth, but I'm not really sure if I've ever shown Codsworth, so maybe he doesn't exist. Maybe. Probably, I'm going to have to say that, because at some point I know I'm going to run into him. But, so he got Codsworth, and then the bombs fell, and, yeah. Difference was Gordon was shot, because there wasn't another parent. The thing is, he wasn't shot like in the heart. He was shot more in the chest and then was frozen. He had the chip still. It had just been deconstructed slightly because he gave it to Vault-Tec to make him a new one, because he didn't for some reason want to bother us. This meant that when they got tech, and that's sort of what fast travel is, but also it allowed them to store stuff inside it. So with that version that Gordon had, which was just the ring, that's what his wedding ring is, basically. It's not a wedding ring, I should see if I can rename that. But his gold ring, basically, is actually the chip that's with stone. I say it's made of stone in Skyrim, because it looks like it's made of stone. That's what was underneath all of that little gold ring. Yes, it looks so much nicer underneath. When Gordon had that, that was enough to actually keep him... It healed him, but not... enough to, like, it was fast enough to stop the wound from getting any worse, but not enough to heal it. So, if you sort of understand what I mean. Technically, this meant he had an infinite supply of blood. As then he went off, he eventually found that other... actually, wait, he didn't get the Pip-Boy in that one. Don't ask me anyway. Why in Vault 111? Wait, is it 111 or is it 111? I don't know, 111 or something. In that vault, for some reason, no one has a Pip-Boy. But, you know, well, we never really understood that anyway. But yeah, but when he came back out, he then met Nurse, where I think I later showed in a video where you can get a, I think it's a 44 Magnum gun, quite easy from the start. That's where he then met Nurse again, and then he came into his head. He gave him the revolver. In this one, I didn't pick it up for ages, but technically the games and the stories aren't the same, but yeah. And gave him another version of the chip, which basically was a Pip-Boy, so that he could still be recognised as a Vault Dweller. Put it on, this healed him up. Nurse went back into his head like normal, and yeah, I didn't explain this. So anyway, at that time, Gordon is 21. 2 years have passed. I'm going to explain why things are this. So Gordon didn't have a voice, but he Nurse gave him a voice through the chip. The chip sort of gives him one. In Skyrim, I think I read all the lines that he was going to say. So I think pretty much he used my voice, and then when he decided to leave, I wasn't going to go with him. I wasn't going to sit there for 2 years with him. So I gave him a voice. He basically downloaded a voice into it of an American, and pretended to be an American for the 2 years he was there. And technically still pretends to be. By the end of that story, Gordon does a little bit of stuff. He mostly remains just going around doing what people tell him to do. But yeah, and helps people. By the next DLC, when the DLC begins, he is going to the Cabot house, which I think I got on camera. The guy coming over and hiring us. I can't remember what his name is, but I'll find out eventually. So when Gordon gets hired, that's sort of where the episodes begin. Gordon in the interview, and then sort of that mission, and then the DLC. It's almost like a quick bring back and just showing what he does, sort of, in the time when he wasn't doing anything. And the very similar thing goes on with Far Harbor, which is the only other DLC I plan to do. I might do Nuka World. I just realised I'm actually pointing at the stop button on my camera. I don't know why. It's over here. But yeah. In Far Harbor, because that's more like a detective-based one, I suppose, I'm only going to have Nick in that one. I'm going to have the other one solely Piper, just so that it's sort of evenly matched out. And the other one I might just take Dogmeat, because Dogmeat's cool. But yeah, in the other one, so in Far Harbor, which actually takes place, I think when Gordon is 27. Yeah, I think he's 27 or 28. So technically, actually, a lot of years have gone by that time. As I said, you got to double this time. So from 22 to 28, he's, oh god, that's not 4 years. That's 8 years have gone by. This is why I'm not taking Piper around with him, because Piper is probably in her 20s. She doesn't really look like she's in her 30s, but she might be. I haven't checked her up on Wikipedia. But because she looks like that, by that time she might be in her 30s, and that's why I don't really want to have Piper around much when I start spanning off into this future timeline, because she is a character that ages, and if you have characters which you don't see any other time, or it's the first encounter for them, it doesn't really matter because you don't know them, you haven't seen them at the start. Also, actually, when I start this DLC, you will have to because technically 1 year passed over the time Gordon was in the first story. But yeah, anyway, also Gordon's aging, this is just to point out why, Gordon's aging goes, because he's not a complete Dimensionator. I'm not sure if I've covered what Dimensionators are, but Dimensionators, basically as a summary, are people with DNA connected to the dimensional portals. This is what allows them to travel through dimensions without any sort of limonite protection. We've hit 20 minutes. And yeah, so this... But Gordon's not completely one. He can travel through the dimensions, and the chip works for him, but it doesn't work completely. So it doesn't give him... It gives him immortal life, as in what it should do in the previous ones, which was just give you complete immortal life. You can make it age you, but usually if you reach too old an age, or you die of old age, it loops you, so then you go back to when you first put on the chip, because it doesn't really know what you look like earlier on. Also, Gordon may get a scar. I'm not sure which one. I am just going to say that if I do give him one, the scar, this is just because barely any difference will be between the two others. So I think I'm going to give him the scar, and I think it's probably going to be one on this cheek, I think. I don't know why, but I feel like it. I was going to give him one on the lip, but it's basically invisible. I put one on, and it's really hard. I didn't realise, but also you can put multiple scars on a person. So yeah. So I might give him a scar on the cheek. A little one. I don't want it to be too big, but that's probably, if I give him one, it's going to be from a time when he was captured by super mutants, barely escaping, but got but one of those big what are they called, mutant hounds, attacks him and gives him a cut across there. The chip was and bit into the Pip-Boy and gave it a bit, damaged it a little bit, stopping the healing part. It then had to reboot, giving him this scar permanently, because he got a cut, it healed before he could, well, not healed, but it started to fix itself by the time he got the Pip-Boy working again, and due to this, it kept the scar. I keep looking like it's here, but I might be saying this to you because I'm not sure if you can actually see it. Sometimes you could see it in the light. I think it's missing when there's a light over there. So probably look at my older videos. I have a scar on my cheek somewhere like around there. But yeah. So I think that's pretty much it for Gordon's story, apart from in the Dimensional War, in which he dies. I think I'm going to say 34. Once again, it sounds like a short time. It's not. If you think about it, from 20, he's lived 28 years. So I think from, might be getting that wrong, but it's quite hard to figure out when you have to double. So yeah, so from 20, I think he's lived 20 to 34. I think he's lived 28 years. Yeah, pretty sure. Maybe. I'm going to have to add that up. But yeah. He does... I feel like he is going to come back. And I know in between the time of the Robomania 1... I'm probably going to call it that anyway. It's like Auto something rather. But yeah. In between that time, he becomes a detective. Detective Gordon.J.Roger. But yeah. And that's all he does. And that's why he's with Nick on a case. Because... 1, Nick's his friend, and 2, it's his job. So yeah. So I think that's sort of it for Gordon. I don't really know how long he's going to continue on from that point, because technically by the time he comes back, my character is 100 and... No, he's not 100, but he's like 90 something. That version of myself dies really old. 113. That's what happens when you give someone really high tech of medicine, of medicine. But yeah. So anyway, so Gordon pretty much does have a continuous lifeline, though I haven't gone from that point in which he dies the first time, like properly dies, until he's sort of resurrected. I don't know really what's going to happen to him after that. I'll figure that out. It's probably going to be another Elder Scrolls game when they make one. Or another Fallout games and other things like that. When they come along, they're probably going to go in there. Anyway, so, I think that's everything. I might not have mentioned this, but Gordon's middle name, Gordon.J.Roger, is, I called it this because he didn't get along with a character in Fallout Shelter called Jordan. So I called him Gordon Jordan Roger. there we go. Don't ask me why I chose it like that, but yeah. So yeah, so Gordon's name is Gordon.J.Roger. Yeah, he's been in the DHD for quite a few years and gets bored quickly. And it's basically my version of Superman without the powers. He has a few powers, I suppose, but yeah. Also, he doesn't have magical powers. I'm just remembering stuff. Skyrim, he doesn't have magical powers. The chip gives him those. And he's not a Dragonborn. The chip does that as well, because it translates it. Yep, that completely removes any prophecy or anything from Skyrim and Gordon. He just showed up and had the right technology to get the thing done, which he didn't even do on camera. Anyway, so, thanks for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye.